Hi everyone, my name is Lauren and this is the portfolio that got me into Harvard and Columbia for graduate school in architecture and urban design. I graduated in 2024 from Cornell with my Bachelor of Architecture and decided to go to grad school immediately after. And when I was applying, I found these types of portfolio walkthroughs so helpful. So I thought that I would pay it forward and provide that for anybody that's looking to apply to their Master of Architecture or Master in Urban Design. Today I'm going to walk through every page of the portfolio that got me accepted and talk about the projects I included, why I included them, and some tips that I wish that I had when I was putting this portfolio together. So if that sounds interesting, definitely keep watching and follow along because I'm going to start posting more architecture, long form content on this channel. If you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, I also post little tips and workflows there too. This platform will let me post longer, more thorough walkthroughs and tutorials, and I think that's a bit more helpful. That being said, let's get into the portfolio. My portfolio was very long because when I applied to Harvard, they suggest submitting our portfolios in pages versus spreads, which a spread is basically 2 pages put together. So I just made my pages extra long, so they're basically the size of a spread, but technically, it was my little workaround. So I think my pages were like 9:16 ratio or 8:16. So here we have my intro, which is really simple. The background image is a historic map that relates to my architecture thesis that I manipulated a bit, but super clean. Then I have a designer intro to set the stage for what I want the reviewers to get out of looking at my portfolio next to the table of contents. So the table of contents is pretty simple. I showed 5 sections for, 3 major studio projects. The 4th one was a research section for my thesis, which wasn't done at the time that I submitted my application. And the 5th was a visual art section. Now let's get into all of the projects that I showed. The first one is called Penn Plaza Towers, and it was an affordable housing development that utilized vacant office buildings in New York City. Every cover project page for my portfolio, I have a big spread of the hero image of the project, and then most of the text I tried to keep to the first page, this first intro page, so there was really just little captions and stuff throughout the pages of the actual project. But in my hero image, I'm showcasing the unit flexibility because the whole idea of this project was 1 or 2 standard floor plans with fixed movable furniture could adapt to whatever user or resident is there. So I wanted to show a variety of uses and also put it in context that this is in New York City in the middle of Manhattan, which is in itself pretty ambitious. But I think all of that is summarized from this one hero image. So then I get into the urban approach of the project. Since both of the programs I was applying to were urban design programs, I made sure that in each project I was showing, I dedicated at least something to that, at least 1 page. So this page, I have really simple diagrams showing my thinking and my urban approach. And on the left side, I have an unrolled section of the whole project. Since it was actually multiple buildings, I was in charge, I guess, of only one of them since this was a group project, but I did want to show the entire context. Then this page is probably my most theoretical page, but it's meant to show how all of the buildings work together along with the new design and the new proposal for the ground floor to make one consistent pedestrian experience and pedestrian urban block, since we are adding housing to Madison Square Garden, Penn Station, all of these really busy existing programs. How can we make them livable for the new residents that we're proposing to be here? And then this page is a little more technical. It's kind of a program breakdown of both residential buildings and the surrounding context. And this page is, I guess, the most technical I just wanted to show in more detail how I envision these units working. So like I stated before, it's a mixture of fixed objects like bathroom, kitchen, etc., plumbing on the outer walls. And then the inner walls have movable furniture. So the couch can become a bed, the desk can become a dining table, like things like that. So I was trying to demonstrate the technicalities of how that works on the unit scale and also at the scale of the entire floor. And then this page demonstrates that context multiplied. So it's the same floor plan, but in all these different configurations that I'm proposing, again, reiterating the idea of unit flexibility throughout the entire building. Now let's get into the pool, which is definitely my most theoretical project. I wouldn't even say it's like kind of architecture, more landscape design. But the prompt of the studio was to design a pool, which could have been a swimming pool or just any body of water. And so my interpretation, since this is on Ellis Island, was to be kind of a monument for recorded and non-recorded American immigrants. The first page, again, is kind of an urban context page. So first, we have kind of a research diagram about the types of immigrants that we are mapping and recording. And the second part is artist research that was accounted for the first part of the project. And my artist, her name was Torquaze Dyson. And she, in her paintings, used really simple shapes like the circle, the triangle, and the square to represent stories of the transatlantic slave trade and represent these really complex, deep topics through really simple geometry. So in this project, I then took the geometry of connecting Ellis Island to Liberty Island in Manhattan, that triangle, and the circle that's inscribed in it, and basically decided to create a moving pool that would go along this circular path and theoretically connect all of these three islands and tie into the history of the transatlantic slave trade as well. So the next page tried to explain some of that into the site plan, showing those geometries that I described and how that manifests into the actual intervention. So there's two sides to it. The crescent island is a wade pool that has a topography underneath the water to represent the stories of immigrants whose histories were not documented as thoroughly as those who came on boats throughout Ellis Island were. And the other half of the island, where the terraces are, is a graph that shows the amount of documented immigrants through time. And then this page is, I guess, a little more architecturally describes those contexts. So on the right-hand side is showing how the pool rotates. It's supposed to roll along the edge of the island. And the planned section on the left just shows the proportion of that pool to the existing context. And this is kind of how I envisioned this actually looking. Obviously, this is, like I said, super theoretical and more of a conceptual idea than a project that I actually envisioned being built, but still really interesting to imagine what this might look like. Okay, third project is a group project from our Nomos 2022 submission, the Cornell Nomos team. I was the co-president at this time, so I was kind of the project leader and manager of this proposal. And this one is about a neighborhood in the North Nashville Quarter, a predominantly Black neighborhood that, like many Black neighborhoods in American history, was bulldozed through during the construction of the US highway system. So in this case, I-40 physically kind of split the neighborhood in two, and this project was about how do we bridge those two sides of the neighborhood that were disconnected back together. So this was the conceptual urban design page explaining the context of the neighborhood once being unified, then disconnected because of the highway, and then reconnected through a proposal. So that's what this red X is on the right side, and these little diagrams are showing on the left side. This is kind of an overall view of what we're envisioning here, which is a cultural performing arts center and public park. So it's not just a bridge, but it's public space that is community facing, and it's meant to be an asset that gives back to the neighborhood that was disconnected by this horrible act of urban renewal. This page again visualizes how this might look. So a lot of our bridge and proposal was underground, and the images on the right are showing what that might look like from under and from above ground. And the section on the right is just showing first some of the programs like music performing spaces that were bulldozed when the highway was built and how we're integrating those back into our proposal. And we also had a physical model that was there. I think when applying to school, to grad school, if you have physical work like this, it's really good to show, especially now in the age of like AI and stuff. Like I think professors really appreciate seeing things that are hand built and hand put together. Okay, now let's talk about the third section, or the fourth section, called Restoring the Hill, which was research on Pittsburgh's Hill District, which is the neighborhood that I'm from. So it meant a lot to me to be doing a thesis related directly to my personal and family history. And also I thought that this was important to show because this research was directly related to the research that I wanted to continue to pursue in grad school, which is equitable redevelopment of Black communities and neighborhoods like my own that have been historically marginalized, disinvested, affected by urban renewal, have a history with urban trauma. And how do we address that in a way that gives back to its current residents without displacing them further? So my research was to build context around what happened in Pittsburgh's Hill District and why I think it's important and why it matters to me. The next page, I have a contextual timeline of the neighborhood's rise and fall. So the chart on the top is showing eras of the neighborhood overlaid with the population. So you can see in the 1930s and 50s, kind of in the interwar period, this area was extremely popular. It was one of the only places in Pittsburgh where Black people could live and work, own their own businesses, and make a living for themselves. So it was kind of a community where all the businesses were Black owned, everyone bought from each other, and it was its own ecosystem with economic vitality. But during urban renewal, which was kind of a nationwide phenomenon in the US in the 1950s and 60s, a huge chunk of the neighborhood was razed completely, and this sports arena was built there. So it had long-lasting economic and population impacts. So the maps on the left side, one of them you might recognize as my cover image, but that is just showing the visual change in the urban fabric of the neighborhood from its kind of height to today, which an area that I'm talking about is now a big parking lot. So you can like physically see the urban history manifested in the fabric of the neighborhood. And that's how I think it ties to urban design, because you can directly see the urban impacts from above. This was some of my research on who I talked to, some of the demographics I was looking at, and kind of current conditions in the neighborhood and its change. The stakeholders that are involved, what the neighborhood wants to see, which is the Greater Hill District Master Plan goals that are written on the right side, and who makes that happen, and kind of the interests of all the parties involved. Okay, and then the final section is visual art. So on the first page, I have this drawing on the right side that I was really proud of, and these two paintings on the left side, which I'm also really proud of. But I think that it's good for grad schools to see that you have interests outside of architecture and hobbies and passions, and visual art was my first love before I fell in love with architecture. So I thought that it was important to dedicate a section to that. And this page was a project that I completed at school, actually. It's also visual art, but I also loved doing origami when I was younger. And this project was creating a home for all of my origami pieces, my modular origami pieces. So the tile-looking drawings that you see on the right side are actually the pages, the papers of these origamis unfolded, and this is the crease patterns of all of those. So it's literally like a map of how I made all of these origamis in 2D form. Yeah, and then the last page is a summary of all of the work that I just went through in one page to refresh the reviewer's memories and see kind of a snapshot of my work all in one place. And that's the end.